Hey, welcome back everybody to Ask the Panel Guys, where we have a special guest and our very first guest from 3A Composites, Miss Debbie Sulewski.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Nice to be here.
Yeah, glad you're here. Glad you could make it down to Atlanta. So we're going to talk about ALUCOBOND, and specifically ALUCOBOND Plus, the product, and we're going to talk colors and trends within the industry. So without further ado, let's get started. We all know that 2020 has presented a few surprises and challenges. So how have the design trends been affected by all this uncertainty?
Well, the global pandemic has affected all industries, as we know, right? We're personally affected in terms of the businesses that we conduct. But the architectural community has a much larger task to rethink design and look at the healthcare systems in our facilities. We weren't prepared for a global pandemic. And if we look at all the kids' home and the educational facilities that need to be rethought, how is that going to play out in the long term? So they have a much larger job to rethink design in terms of safety, but also include durability and aesthetics. Our job is to help improve that process, to make sure that they're comfortable with the durability of the materials that they're utilizing, but also to help support our fabrication partners in terms of educational materials, additional uses of material, and support the color trends. So when we look at a variety of different colors that are trending, we look at the influencers, and the influencers are based on our political and economic environment, of course. Politics aside, it does play a part. When Hillary Clinton was running a couple years ago, a lot of people were wearing a lot of blue because she wore a lot of blue. So if a man is as the president, you're going to start to see some of the more textiles and suit type fashion clothing that kind of transcends into other materials like laminates. We also have pop culture and social media. Social media, it's a plus and a minus. How much social media do you participate in? How much social media do you choose to disconnect from, right? Because we need a life and work balance. So to that end, we also look at science and we also look at technology. So technological advancements and innovations such as the space program, AI, biotech, nanotech, that all influences color. So what does that mean for ACM? That means we're talking to our paint suppliers about different finishes, how much flake to put in a material, how to create a different dimensional look in ACM paints that is more than just a solid paint. And from the architectural side of things, I think we need to support the architectural community, the GCs and our fabricators with educational materials to support perforated materials or interior uses of our material. How do you apply it to a wall for an interior application? Those are all the things that we're going to start exploring as we kind of move into 2021.
Okay, great. Well, that's something to look forward to, and it's so true. You kind of have to play chess rather than checkers to predict trends within the industry, because there's such a long tail on everything that marketing is doing within the industry, as in not really comparison, but to predict what happens within the industry 12, 18 months down the road, where a design architect is choosing a shape of a building, a color palette, things like that. So you got to be on the front end of that to be able to make it happen for the whole ownership team.
Exactly. So if you look at the product cycle of 9 to 18 months on average, or a hospital might be 24 months, that is a long project cycle. So we don't want something like shag carpet in the 70s, right? You had apple green shag carpet, and you had Ubatuba granite, which was really popular in the 90s. They're not transcending over time. Yes, you can modify it and the appearance of it with alternate colors and alternate materials to change the color tone of the room or the space, but what we're tasked to do on the exterior side of the facade of a building is a little bit less convoluted, because we can have 50 shades of gray, so to speak, because the commodity colors of white, black, gray, and silver are always going to be selected. But what can we offer the community to pair with that with warmer color tones and have a more of a natural feel versus a sterile and urban feel?
Has the overall vision for future colors of ALUCOBOND Plus changed over the duration of the pandemic?
I'd say yes to some degree, but not necessarily in a negative manner. Again, like I said earlier, the architectural community wants versatility. And the key for us is to get them to push the boundaries. Mm-hmm. So if you have your commodity colors, we all need our commodity colors. Mm-hmm. They are our bread and butter. But to get them to think beyond that is what we're putting in together for a marketing program and a product development program. By collaborating with our paint suppliers to push the envelope, we can then create different product that our competition doesn't offer, mm-hmm. and allow the architect to put a different punch of color. Mm-hmm. So if they want purple for a brand color, they're not going to make the entire building purple. That's right. It might be a little bit too trendy, but they can add a little bit of a color shifting mm-hmm. product, or they can add more metallic or flake. We have great capabilities in our custom lab. Mm-hmm. We have a tremendous amount of our products are developed in our color lab, which is a testament to history within the company, the durability of the product, and the reliability of our paint suppliers, so that we can create something new for the fabrication team and the GCs to help promote to the architecture community, as well as us directly affecting mm-hmm. the architects. When we look at exciting materials that we're looking at, we're partnering with some very cool and artistic design firms that mm-hmm. are using our material in more of an artistic manner. Mm-hmm. And I'm kind of excited about that. It's all mm-hmm. still coming to fruition. We're just kind of spearheading this a little bit right now and tossing some ideas around to support local charitable organizations. Right. So I'm very excited about that, and we'll see how that plays out into 2021. And then, if we look at the colors that we are launching for 2021, they're much more on the warmer tones. We have in the color selection, we looked at gaps with what we had in our existing product mm-hmm. line. We offer the largest selection of materials in stock now, and taking architectural wonders of the world or buildings and facilities is important to me, because it's just what I love. Mm-hmm. And if we look at the natural wonders from a biophilic perspective, but also the architectural side of things, I think we can come up with a really interesting color palette. Atacama bronze is derived from the Atacama Desert in Chile, whereas Epernay Champagne, I have an affinity for France. I love it, mm-hmm. and I called it Epernay Champagne because it pays homage to the Avenue de Champagne, where all the Champagne region in France.
So all these color names, specifically in the Wanderlust palette, the right. new palette that y'all came out with in March?
March.
Okay. So did you come up with all the names? Because those are some pretty wild names, and I was going to ask about the Atacama bronze. That was interesting. I had to Google it and check it out, and I'm like, oh, that's a desert. But so did you come up with all those color names?
Yes, it's yes, I did, and all the design statements that come up. So we had 29 new colors, and again, to me, I want the color to mean something. It could be blue, but what type of blue? Is Adriatic blue? Is it Baltic blue? Is it Belize? Is it, you want to have some visual imagery behind it, because you want to inspire.
Yeah.
So coming up with the names, but also like the inspiration behind it. So mm-hmm. if we look at the element series, we have olivine, almandine, cubonite, and serpentine. Those were derived from gemstones. And gems, I mean, what girl doesn't like gems, right? So if you look at olivine, it's a really warm olive tone with some brown undertones to it. So to blend with its natural surroundings, biophilic connection. And then you've got almandine, which is a raw garnet. And serpentine and cubonite are gray tones, so that it appeases the architectural community, mm-hmm. but the metallic flake that is behind it and layered in there adds some dimension depending upon the position of the building. So if you're on the south side of the building, you're going to get a lot more sun, and the rise and setting of the sun will allow some of that glistening to come through, whether it's a yellow-green tone or a vibrant green tone. It's very subtle, but it adds a layer of dimension to that building versus just a flat, solid PVDF2 gray building.
Wow, this is so awesome to hear the backstory behind all this, because, as a panel fabricator, it's just like, oh, it's color number 4.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of thought that goes into this, so this is pretty
There's a lot
exciting.
of thought that goes into it, and that's a part of my job that I love. I
Right.
really love that product development and finding the inspiration and working on some new things for next year and where is the inspiration going to come from. But I want to be able to talk to something that the architect and the design firms can relate to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's important. We had a bright color called Tuscan Sun, and I went to Italy a few years ago and with two of my kids, and we were sitting in some woman's kitchen in the Tuscan region after we spent a day making pasta and bruschetta and braciole, and it was amazing. And I sat in her dining room table and I saw the sun just setting over the region, and it was just beyond beautiful. It was just stunning. So that was inspiration to develop a bright color like that. It's also missing from our palette. And we've gotten a tremendous feedback on that color. It's a good brand color as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a very unique color for sure. It's almost like sunflowery.
Yeah.
And,
exactly.
And so, very cool color. So you'd mentioned earlier there were some galactic colors. Tell us about that.
So I love astronomy.
Okay.
Science is fascinating to me, and the weather. And I think when we look to the space program and Elon Musk and all of the possibilities that lie beyond,
right,
and we look into the stars, we can extract some of the metallic effervescence that is stimulated and inspired from the astronomical events that go on beyond, but also the colors, the blues, the pinks, the purples, the contrast with the black and the blue sky. I think that has a lot to do with nanotechnology and biotech and fashion, and how that's going to play out over the next 2 to 5 years.
So y'all's Perilescent Colors, what is that color line called? Is it the Spectra color line?
Oh, the color shifting?
The color shifting.
Color shifting is our Spectra series.
Yeah, those are some
they
cool
color
colors.
shift from either a light blue, we have Galaxy Blue, which shifts from a very pale sky blue. Basically, one architect said to us he wanted the building to basically disappear into the sky, and he loved the Galaxy Blue. The ocean is a really dynamic blue that transitions from a blue to a green and a teal, and that is, again, depending upon the position, north or south facing, you can get more blue or more green.
Right.
And then you have some Sakura, which is a pink lavender tones to the green, which we used on a project in the middle of the country, and it offers a softer palette. Whereas the white gold is, a little bit more subtle. It's white with a little bit hint of yellow gold tones, and much more subtle, not as vibrant, but appeals to someone if they're looking for a softer white tone.
Yeah, I believe it's the Galaxy Blue we used here at the Georgia Aquarium here in Atlanta. We can't take a picture of it because of contractual reasons, but it's a great looking project, and they'll let you into the aquarium for about $50 or $60 to walk around. But all the action's on the outside of the building. But it's a great looking color, and it's amazing. I like to think of it as an oil spill color because if you ever walk up on water, a wet surface and it has oil on it, it has all the different colors, and depending on your angle and the light, it looks totally different. It's a great touch for a building. It's great color.
And we're foreseeing some of that to expand too. I think again, it depends on if you're in an urban environment versus a rural or suburban environment. But I think it adds a lot of retail, I think, like the color shifting as well. Yeah,
it's definitely eye-catching. And there's also one of your finishes that is almost mirrored, almost like a mirror-plated, polished aluminum that I've seen in a lot of your marketing materials, that the building disappears because the reflectivity of the sky or the adjacent materials or products, it looks amazing. I want to do one of those projects because it is so cool. There's I want to say a winery, is that correct?
Yes.
In Pacific Northwest, maybe. and that is a great looking project.
Yeah, you see the sky and the clouds, reflecting off. There's a project in Mexico that may actually use the mirror, but it's in different convex and concave patterns, so you're going to get some reflective. It's also nice when depending upon the size of the building, and you do have some trees surrounding a much more urban environment, that you can kind of bring in a little bit more of that sky and that more calming sense of being.
Yeah, that's cool. So architects down south, let's do it. Okay, let's go reflectivity, and I want to do one of those. So
yeah, for sure.
Okay, so how are color trends determined in North America, and how is 3A Composites working with the design community to get them what they want?
Well, the color marketing group is an important part of what we utilize. I read a lot. There's a lot of trend reporting that are either released by architectural firms or a lot of different publications like BD&C. And I'll extract that information. Also, I rely on our paint suppliers to provide us with some trend reports and what they're seeing on the mega trends and the macro trends, so that we can kind of deliver it more on the micro level.
So what would one of these reports look like? Would they say we're going a lot of blue this year?
You'll see in about 2 months.
2 months?
Because I'll be delivering ours
to
our sales team in December, and then I can present it to you either virtually or in person.
Okay,
so I don't want to give too much away right now.
Okay, I don't want you to spill the beans, but when you say influencers, are you talking political? Are you talking
political?
You mentioned earlier pop culture. I mean, is Kim Kardashian involved in this?
No.
Okay, I was thinking for a second I might be in the wrong business.
No, but I mean, music is connected to people, right? And we are all in this need for human connection. We've all been so distant from one another, and it's about visual imagery and telling the story behind some of the colors that we're selecting. But this is kind of building on the Wanderlust selection because of our product cycle, which was released in March, which almost didn't happen because of the pandemic. And we had to make a decision then, right? So we spent pretty much, takes about a year to develop a product launch, and determining the colors and the finishes that we needed and what I thought the market needed to put us in a position of strength and more competitive, I should say. But when we look at the project cycle of the material on the projects, then also incorporate trends, we have to see 2 years out. And the Color Marketing Group is an international organization that I belong to and I'm very active in, and it will develop regional color stories and palettes based on a multitude of industries. So from interiors to exteriors to raw paint supplies to materials and finishes. We'll do some future forecasting that is beyond that 2 years of what we think sustainability efforts are going to be. The purse I brought today was made out of 15 plastic bottles. A pair of shoes that I bought are all recycled materials. So how is that going to transcend moving forward? So it's a variety of people that are members internationally, and then they'll set reports that are for Latin America, Asia Pacific, South America, and North America, and then I'll take some of that information, incorporate that into our trend report as well, and then develop our own stories based upon what we see in our market for what was pertinent to us as partners.
Right.
And moving forward, where do we see the building materials industry going, and what is it that we want to start to promote?
So is this color marketing group, are they possibly the influencers if they're providing this report that says these are the colors for 2020, or are they the ones forecasting everything and everybody else follows, or are they identifying what has already happened and alerting people to follow?
Well, we're forecasting 2 years out.
Okay.
So we just, for this year in 2020, we forecasted the 2022 color palette based on mega trends and macro trends, and what we see in our various industries.
Right.
I have my input based on what we do and what we make every day. And then you'll have manufacturers like Merck that are creating those paints and ink coatings that are being sold to PPG or Sherwin-Williams, whatever they may be. And then you've got Sherwin-Williams is a member. Laminate, I used to design laminate manufacturers are part of that. So you're extracting from a broad wealth of knowledge from people in their expert fields and kind of putting it all together into a story. And you have to kind of make it your own to some degree, right? Not everything that happens on the interior side happens on the exterior, but I believe that there is a connection. We also do focus groups, like this year travel has been limited, of course, but if we're traveling to meet with architects, I did some field studies last year. I brought along some samples and put them on the table and met with some architects and said, tell me what you like and what you don't like. I'm not going to be offended. And, that kind of gives me some guidance as to what they're looking for moving forward. And then we can kind of, take the next step to further develop some of those finishes.
Interesting. Yeah, I like the idea of the focus groups because that's concrete feedback that you get.
And every region is different, right? So we can have the South as compared to the Pacific Northwest, as compared to Minnesota and the Dakotas, and then the Northeast is its own element.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, let me ask you a question right here. I'm hitting you cold on this one, but how tough and has it changed how you market to a work-from-home architect or designer?
It's been a little challenging. Because we developed brand new sample kits that were meant for our fabricators to take our new collection of 86 different colors into the architectural firms and to the GCs, and nobody's traveling. So trying to rely on social media has been a big part of our strategy. LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. Pinterest is getting a lot of traction, not just with homeowners, but with designers across the board. But it's important for us to communicate to the architecture community in any way that we can.
You have seen a ton of ALUCOBOND projects. What's your favorite ALUCOBOND project of all time?
Well, I think from an iconic perspective is Spaceship Earth. It just resonates as a kid, right? And seeing that and being there as a child, but then also taking my kids and having that picture in the background with Mickey Mouse, right? It has a lot of meaning, an emotional connection. But I think one of my favorite projects has been with the Future House with Virginia Tech, which I believe MillerClapperton was also the fabricator. And my son went to Virginia Tech, so I'm a little biased, but
it's on a different scale of square footage. Shout out to John W. McDougall. Project looks great.
I mean, it was just a really, really interesting architectural project for the school to participate in. We just sent in some new replacement panels for that this year.
And that's traveled all over the world.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. I just find that fascinating to think that the architectural school is doing that. And they're building this innovation campus in Alexandria. And if I could do my education all over again, would I go back to school and as an architect? Maybe. I don't know.
Based on my kids' experience at school, I wish I could go back to school. It's quite the all-inclusive resort nowadays.
It's very different than when I was in school.
So I love your first choice on Spaceship Earth. That is the ALUCOBOND project that I think everybody in North America thinks of, and if they know it's ALUCOBOND, and it's
we try
amazing.
To promote it, and our sustain. We're the first, right? So 1969, it started to be produced in the United States, and I think it was 78 was the Spaceship Earth, but. It's the durability of the material. There's been no issues with the material from the time that it's been installed, and the anodized material shows that color play at night compared to the day. So it's just it's a very, very cool project. And
as a fabricator, there are some. It's not on the ball, but on the panel. Some of the panels on the sides of the base or podium of it, they're huge, and they have radius corners on them. They're just as a geeked out panel guy, you appreciate the complexity of it. So not everybody gets it. I understand. But yeah, that's a great choice in that that future house, future house. That's a pretty cool project as well. So I agree. Good choices. Okay, let's talk about something else that 3A offers to complement its ALUCOBOND Plus products, and that's the accent sheet metal. So as a fabricator, that's a big deal for us because we're always asked to provide color matched 040 flashings, and y'all have stepped up to the plate and are offering many colors in 48 by 120 to help out the fabricators and installers on that. So tell us a little bit about that. I think y'all have probably about 20 colors. Is that correct?
Give or take, yeah. We also have the made-to-order program.
Right.
So we extracted our biggest movers, of course, from ALUCOBOND Plus to complimentary offer in accent. And then some of the colors we also made to order. And that's, we're going to see how it goes. If they increase in demand, we can always add them as a stock. But at least we've lowered our minimum by half to 2,000 square foot minimum. And then also increased our stocking platform. So it's made a big difference with some of our national contracts where we're providing material for retail branding, let's just say. I can't mention the name as a company. But having that material in stock has been a godsend because the competition was 4 and 6 weeks out, and we could provide it in less than 2.
Yeah.
We've increased our stocking platform for accent so that we offer complementary patterns in our printed ALUCOBOND Plus finishes where accent is not available. We'll be releasing a flip book that will provide some visual imagery. So if we have whites, for example, we have bone white, alabaster, and maybe magnolia. We'll have some visual imagery that will go along with the printed ALUCOBOND Plus material, chestnut or rusted metal. So we showed it to the sales team on Friday. They were very, very excited about it because it's a good tool to help the fabricator decide, well, if I have, and there's been a couple of instances with one of our reps where an architect says, what color can you recommend for rusted metal? And a lot of them think that maybe hazelnut mica might work. Not so much. Yeah. It's a little bit of a clash, like you're trying to match and miss. So you're better off with something maybe graphite mica or dusty charcoal or focused black that offers a little bit more of a complementary feature versus trying to match and miss.
Yeah.
So we're excited about that.
So many people are color ignorant, myself included, and the suggested color, complementary colors is going to be a big help for people like myself.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, and the accent colors flat sheet program is important because now when a roofer or somebody else doing adjacent materials to our panels needs flat sheets, they don't necessarily have to come to us for the flat sheets. They can go directly to ALUCOBOND and say, hey, I need 40 sheets of this because I got to do the copings on the entire building, not just above the ALUCOBOND Plus material. So yeah, that's a big help in the industry. Thank y'all for doing that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we're very excited about it, and it's gained a lot of positive feedback, like you said, amongst the roofers and fabrication partners.
Great. So let's talk about something else on y'all's website, which is alucobondusa.com. So check it out. But y'all have something on there called Facade Maker. Tell us about that.
It's a fun tool.
Yeah, it looked fun.
If you want to see what our product is going to look like on the building, you can select your material and your finish. You can alter and transform the shape of the building. You can make the panels concave or convex. You can add up to 6 or 8 different panel sizes. It's a really fun tool. It was initiated by our sister office in Singen, Germany. And we added it to our website earlier in the year, and it's been a big help. So yes, we can offer images to the architect. They can drop it into Revit if they want to see their actual building, because the building on the Facade Maker doesn't change in terms of the width and the height of the building.
So is it a set building on Facade Maker?
Yes. So we're looking at different ideas for next year in terms of offering different sets. But from a coding perspective, it's really complicated. But it does allow you to at least see what our material could look like on the facade of that building. And you can see the color shift, like on Ocean and Sakura. You can see that, or the Cupral, which is a big mover. You can see the shades of the orange and the red on there. And then you can see, you know, offer some inspiration to the architect. It doesn't have to just be a flat panel, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be flat silver, gray, or white panel. It could have some dimension and shadowing, and depending upon which paint you're selecting. It's really a wonderful tool, and we're very excited about it.
That's great. So check it out at ALUCOBONDUSA.com, facade maker. So it's very cool. So as usual, you can follow us at Ask the Panel Guys, and you can follow me on Instagram at The Panel Guy, and you can also follow 3A Composites at ALUCOBONDUSA.com and ALUCOBONDUSA on Instagram.
Yes.
So thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you've learned something today, and thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate this. It's been an honor to be here, and it's been lovely to meet you in person, and we appreciate your partnership very much.
Thank you.
It's a good partnership we have with you, and looking forward to building on that in the next few years.
Yes, well, we appreciate y'all being such a great vendor and a great manufacturer and the grandfather of the industry that we are all in. So that's great. That's a wrap, guys. Thank y'all.